what steps do you think we should take as an industry in terms of making it easier if people do have a good heart and a good place? So two things. One part of it is in hiring behind the camera, and the other one is hiring the creators that will tell the stories that are different stories and making room for that. So Scott, could you start by addressing any of that?
Well, I don't think there's any particular antipathy that I see among the producers I've worked with, the networks and studios that I've worked with in terms of diversity. I don't think anybody's trying to shut the door behind them in any conscious way. But for those of us who've been on the producing side of things, we all know it's a hard job, and there is an inclination to just surround oneself with the same group of people they've been working with forever. And I mean, personally, I had to challenge myself to go out and find those people because the access didn't really exist. I would go to invite me to a panel, invite me to sit outside, invite me to a dinner, or I'll find it out and press the flesh and meet people. And it was that's the way I met a lot of the people we ended up working with, because that access didn't really exist. So I think we need to build that pipeline, but while that pipeline is still being built, pipelines take a while to be built. I think we need to light a fire under those who are in a decision-making capacity and say, hey, this stuff matters. I think any social change historically has been a combination of carrot and stick, and I think the movies that you've listed are a little bit of carrot. There are successes to be had out there. And in terms of stick, I think we need to shame the people making the decisions and force them to go out and put the time to find somebody who looks a little different from the same group that they've surrounded themselves with thus far. But I'm really here to figure out how to build that pipeline. I wish I had the answer how to do it, but I do think it's a combination of incentivization and shame, and I think those who are on the shame side should be loud and louder and demand a seat at the table. And I'm trying to work on my side to shame the folks around me. I mean, I think to take my show, for example, it was fun to do a show about disability that tackled those issues. But I think far more important is to have characters that are not scripted as being disabled, filled by people who are. And often, I have this conversation with my friends, and they say well, I don't want to pull you out of it. Pull you out of it. If you walk into a bank and you see a teller that's with crutches or a cane or a wheelchair, do you just walk out and wander around the parking lot confused and baffled? No, and I think that's the thing that's going to move the needle. I'm proud of what we did on that show, but going forward, I think the far more interesting thing is going to be to represent society a little more accurately and not have the deaf person playing role deaf guy, and not have a person in a wheelchair being the wheelchair athlete or whatever. Let's just mix it up. It's a rambling answer to a very difficult question. I hope we can figure it out together.